Namo Buddhaya, homage to Buddha. Okay, once again, good to see you, my friends. Today, as we are observing the January full moon, halfway through the puja, I had to walk away because I got a heat allergy. I can't stand heat. I like cold. So today, I thought I would talk about a profound topic in simple language. It's going to be a very general topic. It's not deeply psychological or abhidharmic topic. The topic is why is enlightenment difficult? Why is enlightenment difficult? Personally, in my life, I have read lots of books, a few dozens of books on enlightenment. What I mean by enlightenment is spiritual enlightenment. Otherwise, there was an era of enlightenment in Italy, in Greek, in arts. So in any subject, in any area, when there is the zenith or the highest achievement of any area is also called enlightenment. What we mean by here, enlightenment strictly in the Buddhist sense. So probably, I know most spiritual people prefer awakening over enlightenment, because the word awakening is much closer to its original Pali word than the other English word enlightenment. So if from among different words to mean awakening, as you know, the most popular or the first and foremost Pali word for awakening is Bodhi. B-O-D-H-I, Bodhi. If you ask a Buddhist what his or her ultimate purpose is, and he or she would say it's Bodhi. So in certain Buddhist traditions, you also come across another word, Bodhi Chitta. It's also Pali and Sanskrit word, Bodhicitta. Chitta is Bodhi. It comes from the Sanskrit root called, from the root Budh, B-U-D-H, Budh, to wake up. That's the closest definition. Budh, to wake up, to awaken. When I work with children, they would always say that waking up is way better than awakening or enlightenment or whatever, because we all wake up. Right? We are supposed to wake up early in the morning. We wake up to a phone call. We wake up to a mother's. I remember when I was a school child, before going to the monastery, I would wake up to my mother screaming. So when I became a novice monk, I would wake up to early in the morning. I would wake up to tough wording from my teacher. So because I was supposed to wake up at 4 o'clock on full moon days, and at 4 a.m. on full moon days, and at 5 a.m. on other days, because I was supposed to do a lot of things. Now, so that is why the simplest translation, waking up, makes much more sense, because I'm trying to explain the topic in the simplest language possible. I like the simple language anyway, right? So always philosophical or theoretical language often leads to more confusion. That's what happened to me when I started reading books on enlightenment or awakening. So I ended up theorizing enlightenment further, because different scholars put me on different directions. So Bodhi, again, it comes to Sanskrit Pali root Buddha, to awaken, to wake up. Now, if I start with another religious concept, the idea by comparing it with Hindu idea, because Bodhi or Buddha, these words had already in place by the time Prince Siddhartha appears in the 6th century BC India. So all these words come to the same root, Bodhi, Buddha. Both words come from the same root. Now, Bodhi is awakening itself, and Buddha means one who has woken up. One who has woken up is Buddha. So in fact it is a gerund. So it is it's like doing, going, waking up. Grammatically, etymologically, it's a gerund, meaning it is a position. So Buddha is a position. So that's why recently in the meditation dialogue, in the meditation retreat, we happened to talk about that, mention that word, Buddha. Buddha is not a personal name. It is not a given name. It is a position that anyone is able to acquire. So maybe that's why, especially in Mahayana Buddhist tradition, everything is Buddha. That's why you hear. If you go to the market, you will say the Buddha rice. Everything is Buddha. And there's another word that is related to, because there will be, we'll have to play around with certain terms here today during the first 15 minutes. Another word is Nibbana, 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 which is Pali. And Sanskrit and more popular also English word is Nirvana. Now the purpose of if I say purpose is wrong, what happens during our empirical existence? During our existence, we are always looking for some vana. V-A-N-A, vana. Vana is craving or attachment. We are always in the business of looking for some vana or having some vana. If we can stop that vana forever, like if we can set our mind permanently at zero, nil, if we can have our mind completely devoid of vana, zero, so then that is nirvana. Nir is zero, completely free, completely devoid of, completely free from, free of. So that is why nirvana. In Pali is nibbana. Ni plus vana becomes nibbana or nirvana. Now that is, so the body is our goal, our target. Now, upon achieving the goal, that is bodhi, that is awakening, what we will have gotten is nirvana. Conventionally speaking, we get nirvana, we acquire it, we achieve it. But in the ultimate sense, on the ultimate level, in the ultimate sense, we don't gain anything, we don't get anything, we don't acquire anything. in the name of awakening. We would have given up everything. We would have, it's a better word, we would have let go of everything. So, why? Because of vana. There is zero vana. But however, some people don't like that definition. What that is that's the definition. Some people don't like it. Why? If there's nothing to enjoy there at nirvana, I don't need it. I don't want it. Some people have told me in personal dialogues, and they even got me promise, please, Bhante, don't disclose that to anyone. I personally don't like it. So, and then I would say, okay, meaning you have so much vana. How many things have you had in your life? How many things have you enjoyed in your life? Have you ever been happy for a considerable period of time, at least for 48 hours? Not really. Not even 48 hours. Once I have achieved once I'm done, I would happen to say, so what? You know that the expression "so what" means so what has a negative connotation. Like you are back in disappointment. You are back to your chronic sadness. In medicine, we talk about chronic illnesses. And Buddha says, there is one particular chronic illness we all go through until our bodhi, until our enlightenment. If it is not still clear what the difference between bodhi, which is awakening, and nirvana, bodhi is awakening. Once you are fully awakened, your mind is set in a particular state. Your mind is set in a particular state, and that state of the mind is called nirvana. Clear? Bodhi is your goal, awakening. Once you are fully awakened, then what happens to you? Your mind remains in a certain state, and that state of the mind is called nibbana or nirvana. And then after you have achieved awakening, and you will continue to live in the physical body, but there will be a vast difference between an enlightened person, between you who have now achieved awakening, and me who have a long way to go to enlightenment. What is the difference? I would keep searching for something always. I would keep looking for something all the time. I would be in pursuit of something all the time. My pursuit never stops. Whereas in your case, now being enlightened, already fully awakened, you stop searching for things. Whereas I would still continue. How many things have I found? Numerous things, 1 billion things. But am I happy? No. If I am, I can stop searching. So there are two kinds of searching according to the Pali texts. So we always look for sukha, S-U-K-H-A, sukha. But you will all again come across these Pali words during the Thursday course, starting on February the 9th. So it's always good to make a list of key words and explain them, understand them in your own language. But I'm not going to terrorize you asking to remember all those Pali words today. I'm just playing with few words. While ordinary people they go in search of sukha, S-U-K-H-A, sukha, meaning happiness. Those who are deeply aspiring, those who deeply aspire to achieve awakening, they go in search of truth, satya. In the Pali canon, whosoever lived their lay life and so embark upon a journey to awakening are called Satchagavesis. Satcha, S-A-C-C-A, Satcha is truth. Gavesi, G-A-V-E-S-I, Gavesi. Gavesi is one of the Pali names. Gavesi means to investigate, to search for, so to seek after, seeking. Gavesi is seeking. So those who walk the spiritual path in search of awakening, bodhi, are called Satchagavesi. The seekers after Satcha, truth. Again, what is truth? That's another question then. What is truth? Now, remember one of the stories here at this point. During the Buddha's time, it hadn't been that long since Buddha appeared in the world. There was this young man who was very rich, who had big wealth that he had inherited from his parents. His name, so he wanted he heard from a friend that someone called Buddha had now appeared in the world. When he heard the word Buddha, he had goosebumps. He was so thrilled that he thought to himself, oh, that's what I have been looking for. That's the person that I want to meet one day. Because Buddha, that word occurs in all the Indian languages. So anyone from the Indian subcontinent would understand the word Buddha, one who is awakened. Now, when he heard the word Buddha, what he thought, okay, I should leave all my wealth behind and should embark upon a journey to find him. Before that, I should ordain myself. So it was the tradition, even to this days in India, that there are a lot of monks, self-ordained monks. So he ordained himself, meaning he gave up all his luxuries and wealth behind, and so he dressed himself up like a mendicant monk, a traveling monk. So then he said, I may or may not meet him. It doesn't matter. I may die without meeting him. But I can't stop thinking about this word, thinking about Buddha. So my ordination is in his name. So he left his comfort, he left his luxuries, he left his palace as a mendicant monk. For the next few months, he would travel searching for Buddha. And he found, but he still didn't find him. As per the cultural, as per the tradition in India, even to this date, so that there are a lot of industrial places that are closed at night, overnight, so that mendicant monks, travelers, hermits, ascetics, priests, monks, homeless people, then anyone can sleep over in those places. Now, toward the nightfall, this man, his name was Pukkusati. So that he thought that there was a pottery hall where because the clay pots is a big cottage industry even to this date in India. So it was a pottery hall, industrial place. So he entered the hall. As he entered the place to pass the night, to sleep there, he couldn't believe his eyes. There were hundreds of religious people like hermits, ascetics, turbaners, monks, meditators, different people from different religious sects. But they were doing something. They were arguing with each other. They were debating with each other. To him, it was a big cacophony, big sounds, and they were trying to. Some were trying to convince. One was trying to convince another that one's belief in Satya or truth is correct. And at the same time, one would try to condemn the other person's belief. So it was more like an argument, not a dialogue. Even to this day, debates are very famous. Even a very well-known debater, Satyaka by name, came to Buddha for debates. And, so that is why in the Digha Nikaya, in the long length sayings of the Pali Tipitaka, you see longer sutras based on dialogues between Buddha and Satyaka. So Satyaka was one such he was a logician. Satyaka was a logician, and he would argue with the Buddha, debate with the Buddha. So when this young man, who has now become a mendicant monk, saw these people, he was just scanning around to find a corner to lie down, because it's been a long travel. So at the same time, he was scanning around, he saw another man, silent like him, in a corner. So that then he thought to himself, well, there is someone like me, while everyone is debating with each other, arguing with each other. There's another man, he's silent, why not approach him and sit beside him and get into a conversation, which he did. First he went there and paid respect. So Pukkusati knew that the other man, silent man, was as silent as he was. That's why he was impressed by, he was inspired by the other man's silence. That's when he approached him, and he had the most typical question that he or anyone in the 6th century BC India would ask whenever they met someone else from a different, from a religious sect or a belief. He asked, so who are you? What do you believe in? How do you describe Satya, truth? So then the other man said, and then who is your teacher? He said, I don't have a teacher. I don't teach anything. This is what I believe. So then he began. He started explaining what he believed, what he saw as truth. And so the conversation, his explanation continued for like few hours. Then what happens? Excuse me. Pukkusati knelt down before him and said, I never thought that I would meet the Buddha this soon. I never thought I would meet the Buddha this soon, the very personality, the very person that my ordination is for the very person in whose name I became a self-ordained mendicant, for whom, in whose name I left all my luxuries behind. So the man, the silent man, was none other than the Buddha himself. Now, there's another message in this conversation. Did the Buddha disclose to the young man who he was? He never did. Usually, we Putujjanas, ordinary people, usually we introduce ourselves. Right? I introduce myself to you, introduce yourself to me. But in the West, I have seen something very important. I haven't seen that in Asia, in Western countries. What is that? If you feel like having a conversation with someone and you continue the dialogue, when you are impressed, then only then will you ask for the other person's name. Right? In Asia, it's very hard, difficult. I always got that experience since I moved to the West. This was something like that. Now I know you are the Buddha. And Buddha never introduced himself at the first place. See, while everyone was debating with each other, Buddha was silent. Why was Buddha silent in that big hall? He had no point to argue about. He has nothing to debate on. So probably, so that's why probably there was no one interested in Buddha in that hall. Most probably, it's people who are interested in someone who had the biggest voice, who had the most sense-making argument. Buddha wasn't interested in that. He was, because he had given up everything, because he knew what he knew. In the case of most unenlightened people, they simply talk about the truth, but they actually don't know what it is. If I just and there's nothing. That's the end of the story. Now, remember that word silence. That's another key word. While everyone was arguing with everyone else, the man who was silent, whom Pukkusati was yet to know who he was, who was none other than Buddha himself, he was silent. Pukkusati was silent too. He had just become a mendicant monk. Why was he silent? Because he was from a wealthy family. He had a lot of education. So he wasn't interested in all those arguments or debates. That's and all of a sudden, lucky him, he saw the other silent man. So that's another word that we use to call enlightened people in Sanskrit and Pali. That's called Muni. M-U-N-I, Muni. Muni. It comes from Muni literally means silent. So I remember that when I was when I became a novice monk, there were 2 more novice monks staying with me. We were students of the same guru, same teacher. I was kind of regimental too. Sometimes other 2 novices would get into a dialogue with me, and most of the time dialogue would turn into a debate, then to an argument. When the other 2 start arguments, I would stop, because I would feel tired. I would find no sense at all beyond that point. And then teacher would walk in and say, try to be a Muni like him. Be silent and think. So Muni literally means silent, one who is silent. Always an awakened person who has achieved nirvana is called a Muni. And the principle, the behavior or the mannerisms, behaviorism and all this of a Muni is called Moneya. Moneya. Oh, don't worry about this because Bhante is now quoting too many Pali words. Okay. So you don't have to remember these words. Moneya. Moneya means the principle of a Muni. Moneya means principle of a Muni. And some people, during the Buddha's time, there were some, even to this day, I have come across some Buddhists who are practicing Moneya Vata. V-A-T, Vata means Vruta in Sanskrit, meaning vow. Moneya Vata, vow of silence. Vow of silence. I have come a lot of ladies and upasakas, Buddhist ladies and upasakas, men and women both. One day, I want to be the silent one, silent bhikkhu in the company of an all-enlightened Buddha in the future. It is also somebody's aspiration. So it's another kind of aspiration. But you don't have to make that spiritual aspiration to become a Muni. Because during the Buddha's time also, Buddha bestowed an honorific title to a monk because he was well known as, because throughout his samsara, his previous lifetimes, he had aspired to become an embody, become Muni. So usually we all practice. If you are a spiritual person, your vow should be of silence in your day-to-day life. Vow of silence. If there is a certain principle in Buddhist spirituality that has inspired me the most, that is the vow of silence. Moneya Vata. We all need to practice it from time to time in our day-to-day life. Not strictly in a spiritual sense, in your day-to-day life also. You know, in modern psychology, you learn what is called anger walk. Sometimes when you are talking to someone, you get angry, you feel like you start resisting someone. Because you can stand what the other person says. But you don't just walk away, being as a negative person. Instead of, you make your conclusion. Okay, there's no point continuing this argument with you. Now, I can't agree to you, sir, ma'am, so this is what I believe. So now I will take leave. Now this is what I believe. Bye. That's the way to walk away from a heated dialogue. So, and then immediately after that, then you go into silent meditation. And you are emotional, and so why do we take deep breath why do we start silent meditation with deep breath? Just to overcome our emotions that are now brewing in our subconscious mind, that were caused by people's attitudes, debates, etc. And there can not only people, there can be situations in our life. Maybe work-related situations, family-related situations, love affair-related situations. Situations create a lot of stress in our mind, and that can affect our body too. So at that point, the best thing is to walk away from those situations or people and take deep breath and go into silence. And that is called Moneya Vata, vow of silence. You make a vow for yourself. I wouldn't talk for the next 2 hours. For the next 48 hours, I would be silent. If someone comes to me and say, I have done that a lot. It's very practical. So sometimes they are more curious then. But why? Just tell me. So it's it's fun to me. I find it fun. So I have come back it's not too much of a layman's definition maybe, but I always love to break it down to higher principles or concept into wordings and feelings, so that for popular consumption to understand. So, and in the Buddha's case also, when Saccaka the logician wanted Buddha to continue with him, and Saccaka would at times get kind of angry too. Why? Because Buddha remained silent all of a sudden. Sometimes Saccaka was jubilant. He was thrilled that Buddha was silent. Those who argue and the logicians, they always, so their strength depends on wordings. They hate those who are silent. So at times Saccaka walked away, and at times other disciple monks would come to the Buddha and ask, Buddha, sir, why did you should have answered him, you should have continued, why did you tell this and that? And then Buddha said, on different occasions, he made the same statement. He said, the world debates with me. The world argues with me. I have no debate, no argument whatsoever with the world. You might have come across your co-workers, some people. They try do everything possible to get you for an argument. That's where their energy is. But because of if you let your ego rule you over, and then the other person would win. So we all have ego. But it's very difficult that's why the silence is very important. Moneyavata, vow of silence is very important when we work on our awakening. More theories, more sickening. More debates, more arguments, more concepts further confuse us. So now, going back to the word Bodhi and Satya. Now, what was Pukkasati, the young man, looking for, searching for, seeking after? Truth, Satya. Now, what is the truth? I have read maybe 18 or 19 books on truth, and finally gave up. I put all those books behind. Then I stick to one simple piece of advice that Buddha had given somewhere. Instead, when I stopped reading and thought about my own so-called achievements or sukha, S-U-K-H-A, sukha, happiness. It's almost time. You know that it's all been 45 minutes. So, I thought I wouldn't have no idea to talk about. Now the ideas are coming now. So, what is sukha then? I think recently on numerous occasions we have discussed this sukha and dukkha many times. Probably that could be the last two terms that we would discuss. Sukha. Sukha means joy or happiness. Dukkha means sadness or unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha is an English word now. Dukkha, do, negative, kha, no essence. Now, I grew up drinking tea because I was born in rural Kandy area in Sri Lanka. There were tea plantations. So I grew up drinking tea. Since I moved to the West, I got more interested in, I started deriving more sukha out of coffee. Because you're the best coffee in the West. Today also I'm just drinking one such coffee. When I was thirsty, I was looking for, when I come in down the stairs and go into the kitchen, I imagine, I made a mental, I visualized different bottles there. I even read the brand names, everything. I thought, okay, I should grab that bottle and put a little more coffee today. It's yummy. And then boil the water and pour. Then I tasted it. Then what happens? No, it doesn't taste good. Why? I have tasted this for a long time. Now my tongue, my palate is asking me for something else. Asking for something else, after something else, after something else, it goes on. That's the way I derive, that's the way I find sukha. Su means positive. Kha is what happens. Du and dukha, sukha. Remember this. Du, kha, su, kha, K-H-M up. You pronounce it heavily. Su is positive, du is negative. Su is positive, du is negative. Those prefixes. But what about kha? Su is positive, kha is no essence, no meaning. Du is negative, kha is no meaning, meaningless. Even if we achieve something and we are happy for the moment, then we are unhappy again. That's why starting with su, when we end up in kha again. We are already in du, needless to say we land in further kha. So we are sad, we become more sad. Dukkha leads to dukkha. We are happy for the moment and then we land in dukkha. Then we go to sadness. So dukkha, sadness leads to more sadness. Happiness leads to sadness. Finally, we haven't achieved anything. There's nothing to achieve. That's the message that enlightened people give the world. Right? Like recently, in one of our dialogues, we talked about Tanashina, we talked about happiness, right? Someone, the happiest monk who lived halfway to the Himalayas, right? A Western man went there, he climbed the Himalayas, and he finally made it to the higher point where the monk was staying, the world's happiest man or something. And then he said that he made lots of sacrifices to get in there. Right? And he asked a question, why are you here today? Sir, I'm looking for happiness. And he said, oh, there's nothing called happiness. There's nothing called happiness. See, we always play with the word happiness, perfection. So, why his answer was there's nothing called happiness means, if there is something in substance, in reality, we should be able to keep touching that all the time, feeling it all the time. It depends on the moment. The moment I take another sip, that's what I like. And then what happens? When I'm talking, all of a sudden I happen to see something else. And then again, once I have consumed the sip, when it's gone down my throat, so what happens is, the sukha was simply based on my palate, my taste buds. And then it disappears. And then again, I had another sip. I feel like having another one. I take another sip. If I compare all the 20 sips that I have so far taken, they are the same coffee. There were 20 moments. Regarding the same coffee, there were 20 different moments. In each moment, I experienced the same thing. What? I was happy because I was now drinking the coffee that I like. But then I should be able to keep that happiness. If I were happy, I shouldn't go for another sip. Or at least I should drink the whole thing at one sitting. Even, let's say I'm going to empty the cup, finish the whole thing at one sitting. But will I be happy and then say, oh, I'm full? But when I was learning English, my English teacher, I was a novice monk, he told me that. It is one of the best analogies that he gave about nirvana and samsara. He told me, Bhante, I give you a book. The book contains 300 pages. It's a bulky book. And you keep reading it. The book is so inspiring, you keep it reading at one sitting. When you go through each and every word, it makes you happy. It's all the positive words. And you come to the last page, the page number 300. The last word of the last line on the last page is but. But. That was the conclusion. So, and then you would feel like you would be very utterly curious, and perhaps the word but would say that's what you would finally feel if there's such a book. And that's my teacher told me. Even though the book has 300 pages, even each word made you happy when you went through those pages and lines and words, even though you enjoyed all the words one by one, when your eyes hit the last word, the last line, the final word, but that's what you are. That's your conclusion, Bhante, he said. This time in Sri Lanka I met him. He's a well-known English teacher. He's the one who taught me advanced English. And that's what we always. And we always, having enjoyed a lot of things, say, but why? Right? So this time I didn't know that sometimes I had copied, subconsciously learned some mudras or gestures in the West. Sometimes when I went to Sri Lanka this time, a group of young people asked me some dialogues, and he asked me about happiness. I happened to say I was wordless. I simply said, I didn't purposely do that. I simply, because I had no more words to say. So that is how we go through this again and again, like sipping coffee. Right? Maybe this mug full of drink coffee is good for maybe like 50 sips. It's like the whole samsara. Samsara is the cycle of successive births, deaths, rebirths, and it goes on. Samsara. Thus I have been doing all my life, in this life, and also in my unknown samsara. Have I been happy? But I don't recall my past samsara. I don't know where it is, where I was before. Now I have more than enough experience that I have acquired within this lifetime to be happy. I always question myself, ask myself, at my bedtime meditation. There were times that I asked myself, are you happy? And then again, years ago, I started asking myself, how happy are you? Are you happy? How happy are you? I would ask myself. Now what I do is, even though because of my putujjana nature, there's a long way to go for awakening enlightenment body. Now what I do is, when I fall sick, I said, I had been sick before. Instead of meditating on sukha, in search of sukha, I play back. I play back my memories of painful experience and say to myself, I had been sick before. And it is more energizing to think that I had been through that before. So when I think about that, so I can stop worrying about about sukha. Again, sukha is positive, kha is meaningless. Meaning that is joy or happiness in Pali. Du is negative, kha is meaningless. Positive yet meaningless. Negative, of course, then meaningless. Positive yet meaningless. Negative and, of course, meaningless. That's what the sukha, dukkha, the Pali words for sukha, joy and happiness and sadness is. Now the last word would say is, now what are the key words so far we talked about? What is the topic again? Why enlightenment is difficult. How many, now when you read the Buddha's Jataka stories, now Siddhartha as a bodhisattva, he became this is the last, I will take 4 more minutes to explain. Now, those who are, and again, did I explain Satya, truth? What is the truth again? There's nothing called truth. Just like there's nothing called happiness. The only truth, as Buddha explained, this was deeply puzzled. This puzzled. Even Albert Einstein had this puzzle. Of course, in terms of astrophysics, as a physicist, he had the same. He died without a clear conclusion of the dark matter. That's why he got more interested in the Buddha's teachings. He was Jewish. Now, before I forget, I am a Puthujjana. This is very important about Tathagata. 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 Now, Tathagata means the general definition is thus gone one. But it doesn't make sense. Because I was lucky to study Pali from one of the well-known, eminent professors of Pali, Venerable Kakapalli Sri Anuruddha Thera. He was a well-known professor of Pali in Sri Lanka, Hong Kong, Santa Barbara, in the US. So he's the one he has been here a lot of times for talks. So I asked him, he asked me to do an assignment. Explain Tathagata. That's how short his questions are. But the answer should be at least 30 pages. Explain Tathagata. Then I said, well, traditionally called thus gone one. Then I had to read lots of books in search of the meaning. So, Tatha, T-A-T-H, Tatha means suchness of anything. Suchness. Now, when you say such, for example, I think we can talk about that topic maybe some other time, but given the time, now, You cannot explain truth in one word. Always you need a whole phrase to describe something. And always you cannot point to something called this is the truth. Let's say, okay, this is my mug. This is the program brochure or the program. This is the ceremonial fan. This is the table. That's the Buddha's. Here are my friends. It's me, my body, myself. Behind it, the statue of the Buddha. Is that truth? No. I haven't still pointed to the truth. Truth is it depends on the description of any object. How is that? Using such. How is that? This coffee is such that it is the best. This chair is such that it is the most comfortable. That statue of Buddha is such that it is the most serene one that I have ever seen. These people are such that they are my favorite friends. Or this body is such that I hate it. It falls sick. It doesn't stay the way I want it to stay. It continues aging. It continues to age. It falls sick. So that is what tatha means, such. So that is why whenever Buddha was asked to explain the truth, and he would give a long explanation. But he knows it. Now if I run my eyes through the microphone, the people, back to my coffee, half empty now, it was full before, because I kept sipping it in search of sukha, happiness. And the statue, so different things. When I run my eyes through, if I ran my eyes ran through like 10 objects, 10 or 11 objects already. When I saw each object separately, I created some feelings. When I saw the coffee, good. Statue, I like it. Finally I came to my physical body, I don't like it. I do like it, I love it. That's why I taught her self-metta. Love your body, love. I just say that, just suppose, as an example. Now, when we perceive things, that's called perception. When we perceive the world through our sense faculties, we create feelings. And why we create feelings? Because we want satisfaction, sukha. But only during the moment that we see something, go through something, are we happy. Then again, when we look for something always. So that now we always miss the point. We only keep running. We don't see the truth. So that is why it's always good to choose a limited number of objects in your life, maybe favorite things. Okay, this cup, 2 years ago somebody brought me, the last time I was in London, a gentleman here brought me Bante. All the monks have their, the first letter of their, you are missing. What do you are? No, I'm here. No, you are missing. There are lots of cups, so that I will make a cup, so that he got this printed and brought me. When I saw, it's you. No, it's me. Right? So it's the first letter of my name. Now, so what happens is, so every time, and recently somebody brought me another cup with you. Then it was more expensive. Because of my typical average Putujjana nature, I got a better cup. Then I told myself, I apologize to the previous cup. No. Both cups are the same. Immediately, I reversed my idea. Why is that? I failed to see that the cup that I got after this one is same as this cup. I wasted a moment to drain my energy. In fact, I felt I ended up appreciating one cup. But at the same time, actually, what I done was I downgraded, I neglected the other one. Why? Discrimination is born in our mind. It's nowhere else. It's not a social thing. It's in our head. Right? When we see these certain things, we discriminate one thing against something else. So, and it is tiring. So, if I see, okay, however, both cups are the same, I use them, and there shouldn't be any discrimination between the two against either cup, so that I am at peace. So that is the simplest moment of truth I can enjoy. Otherwise, we keep running. That's what enlightened people permanently do. They completely stop discriminating against the different perceptions that they make. There's no discrimination in the mind of an enlightened person. So, but again, now I am becoming selfish because it's time for the break. I have taken 5-6 minutes off your tea break time. Sorry. Have I been selfish because I am drinking tea, but I have neglected you? Sorry. Thank you. So remember this, we can continue this later. Now, I just want to tell you something. When we start the Thursday course, this is the way we're going to explain things. And it's going to be continued, like it's going to be a perpetual course.